In this session, I want to cover the role to resource relationship. We see a lot of companies today and a lot of schedulers out there that use resources only and they don't use roles. Some don't understand the functionality of roles and some just opt not to use the roles. Now, the roles are one of those things that if you use them and use them correctly, is a very, very powerful application. It helps from a capacity planning, also a long range planning standpoint, but we use a lot of templates, and if you're using templates, which we strongly recommend, whether it's a phase gate process with front end loading, or it's an engineering step, or it's a construction step of activities that you can template, 100% recommend templating these activities. Once you get these activities templated, you want to roll load it because you may not know who's actually going to do the work. So in saying this, I want to run through this just real quick and talk about the roles and what a role looks like. So I have a template here, and the template's role loaded. So let's go to the activities view and look at this. So from the activities view, we used asterisk because on the actual task, because we don't know what type of package this is right now, but we have a standard set of steps and they're limited from engineering design all the way to IFC in a package. But you can see it's role loaded with the craft that actually has to perform the function. When we roll load this, what we get is a total budgeted labor units, and we even put cost to get a budgeted labor cost. We use this quite a bit when we're looking out into the future by just copying and pasting templates and maybe putting multiple packages together with a start and a stop for a small or even a large construction project. So let's look at how this is done. If I go to the top to enterprise and I come down to roles, I've filtered down on just the roles that are being used, but let me take the filter off and look at the role pool. So I'm going to display in the display options bar, and I'm going to filter by all roles. When I open this up, you're going to see that I have engineering and a set of engineering discipline. I have procurement broke out by themselves. Some people don't do this. They'll put it in project management, which I do have at the top. And then we have construction, which is a set of craft that are actually going to perform the work. So this is standard. This would be created one time and everyone uses these particular roles. You don't change them. You can actually lock them down. So if everybody's using this across the site or the region or whatever capacity that you want to use this at, you can get the overall, grand scheme or the capacity of what's actually being used from a craft perspective. But what we did was we went a little bit further here, and I selected my designer, and in the designer, I put a rate on there. Now, I'm going to say this is a high-end rate that we just threw on there where folks can see it. I actually did it on the engineering as well and the purchasing manager. So I threw a high-end, what we call bill rate on there. So that's how I actually came up with the cost in this particular template. Let me go a little further on this and show you how I set my my tables up and on the details tab on the bottom, so you can actually see this. I do create layouts that look at certain things. In other words, I've customized the window at the bottom from my resource tab at the bottom. I've customized this to where it would help me. I'm going to right click down here in the resource tab and show you how I did that. So I'm going to customize resource columns. What you see in parentheses is the actual Primavera name, and then what you see here is what I actually wrote. So where it says cost account, and we'll have another video on cost accounts, role, and let me show you how I did this. So role name is the actual Primavera name, but if I edit the column, to me that's the discipline. How Primavera set this up, it's supposed to be the craft or the discipline to perform the work. So I have the role there, and the discipline is the name, and that's what it's displayed like on the screen that you see here at the bottom. So if I walk across this, staffing is the number of people. Now, when you look at 24, you have to actually take this and understand what calendar is being utilized here. So it looks to me like that's 3 people on an 8-hour day, if I were guessing, but I'd have to actually say, like I said, go look at the calendar. But if you are role loading, even resource loading your schedules, and you want to make it easy for your craft loading piece, you can actually change your duration format to hours. And let me do that. I'll show you how that works. Edit, user preferences. On your time units, if you'll change this to an hour, what that does now, it gives you the ability to change this. This becomes people. So I had 3 people working 8 hours a day. Let's say I need 2 people. So I put 2 people. My duration format's in hours. So what it did was the math for me instead of me having to figure this out and load the people to it. Once it's completely loaded and I want to go back to days, so I go back, edit, user preferences, and put my duration format back on days, and it should be 16. So that's 2 people working every day for 8 days, which equals 16 times 8 is 128 at a bill rate of $225 for the total labor cost. So in this template, we spend a little time. We build it, we logically tie it together the way it's supposed to be. And that way, when the new user comes in, they can copy the template and paste it. So let's say you don't use the cost. At least you know how many hours it takes to do a typical package. So I can take this now and share this with the team. So my roles are created, they're used, and we're ready to go to the next step. So the next step would be the project scheduler actually coming in and utilizing this template. So I'm going to go in here and copy just the entire project. Now you can copy a work breakdown structure if it's set up where types of packages or releases and set that up different. But I'm just going to copy the whole thing and I'm going to paste it here. And I'm just going to say OK on all options. And I'm going to leave the -1. It's going to put a -1, but because you can't have duplicates. But I'm going to say this is my actual project that we're going to work on. So if I right click and open this, which is going to close the template, I'm actually in the file that I can do what I need to do to it. So if you want to go back to the activity screen and increase durations and up your staffing, you can do that, but at least you have a basis for how logic is supposed to get started, and it's role loaded. All you're waiting on is to say who's going to provide or who's going to actually perform the work. That's the scheduler that's actually going to come in and work with that, or the company that's responsible that's going to come in and actually do the work in that program. So what we have to do now is go to the resource table. So I've got the tab open here at the top. You can also go to the enterprise resources and open that same tab. But looking at the resources, I want you to notice the structure here. I've got 2 companies set up here, but I'm gonna collapse all and just show you the database. I'm missing some things, but at least I want you to see and understand how we set resource structures up. So I'm gonna collapse all here. I'm missing a couple levels. A lot of times we'll put locations. In other words, geographical locations. If it's North America and you have another location in Europe and you want to segregate those from a security perspective, we set that up. We also go to the next level. So if I have a site located in one city, for example, we're located in Baytown, Texas, and we have another spot in Charlotte, North Carolina, I may set it up to the next level or level 2 to an actual site working location. Then under that particular location, we have a list of the projects that are being run at that location. What this does is give me as a scheduler the ability to build my resource pool under my location. Then I can build the companies that are actually going to come in and do the work. If you have a company that's located at your site, so let's say that I have an ABC company that's coming in and they're going to actually be on site doing the work. I'm going to assign that company to this particular resource structure, which assigns security there, and they cannot see CD or RR or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 2, 3, 4, 5. All they see is ABC Engineering. This gives them the ability to build their resource structure. Once they build that, it also gives them the ability to set the limits on the number of people that they need. We even went in and put rates on here. Now, they're probably not going to do that, but I wanted to show you some questions that Primavera asks when you do use cost. In this particular example, I put civil engineering and I put it at $175, which is actually cheaper, I think $50 cheaper than what we had on the roll. I actually loaded this at $50 cheaper than what we had on the roll, and procurement, I loaded $25 cheaper than what we had on the roll. So on the roll, we used a high spot estimate, but on the resource, I actually got down to the number that we got the company at to actually come in and perform that work. 2 different tables used 2 different ways, but worked together very, very closely. But the next step, a lot of schedulers don't do. They don't link the tables, and there's a lot of ways to link the tables. In other words, I can go right here to civil engineering, click the roles tab, and say, what role is this responsible for? But I actually like doing it another way, and I'll show you that way. Well, I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and assign this one. So that's a civil engineer. The role that's being provided for this is going to be civil engineer. So you'll see primary role right here. Another way to do this, and I think it's a faster way, is that once you get your resource pool completely created, you're going to go to enterprise, then come down to roles. And so for designer, I go to resources, I assign, and you're going to see, you would see your total resource pool. Let me collapse this to make it look a little better. So you're going to see the total resource pool that's under your project. And from a civil design perspective, we have ABC company and CDE company. I did that by holding the control key down, and I select those two companies that are going to perform that craft. So now when I resource load, I have the option to use one or the other. I'm going to also make sure that I'm loaded on, I've got ABC, I need the CDE, and I'm also going to do the procurement manager. And we should have a procurement manager here and here. So we have two companies that can perform that function. So now the resources to role relationship is connected. It's a critical function when it comes to this step here. Let me go straight to this and show you. From the activities view, what that link did was, like, if I go to engineering and you go to the far right side, you're going to see a person, it says resource by role, and it looks like a shadow of a person behind them. If you select that, it's going to give you the options. Instead of looking through pipe fitters and process engineers, and it narrowed your search. So now you just see the companies that are available in that project to assign to those roles. So that's one way to do it. And you can do it one at a time and double click. And in fact, let me do engineering. Let's say we use ABC engineering. And you're going to look down here at the bottom, you're going to see ABC engineering. So that's who's going to perform that work. What you do not want to do is come right here and double click and assign it from here. If you assign it from here, you're going to duplicate, and let me just do that. Let's say I'll use CD designers. You're going to duplicate. And what I mean by that is you've added a resource and a role to that one activity. You want to use the resource to role relationships. So let me remove the one that I assigned and go back. Yes, okay. So we're back where we started. So if I go here, it's going to duplicate. The other thing you can't do here, which I'm going to show you a little bit later, is let's say I wanted to use them here, 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 and here. Right click, you cannot fill down. Not in this window, but you can fill down from the resource assignment window. And I'm going to go to that in just a little bit, but I want to finish this exercise. If I'm assigning and I'm using the resource to role relationship and I have the roles column open, if you just select roles, it puts them all together based on that role type. So now I have the ability to select this one all the way down to this one, which is just 2. But if you had 200, you can select them. If you wanted to rearrange the grouping based on package type, you could regroup that in your group and sort and select them here. But you're going to see what it does down here at the bottom. Anytime you have 2 selections, all your activity details tabs they don't work anymore. It disables. But that's the reason that Primavera puts the tabs over here on the far right. That now gives me the ability to use the resource to role relationship and say, on these 2 activities here, I'm going to use this particular company. Now, before I assign this, I want to show one button. Actually, it's 2 buttons that I've unchecked and selected in the right spot. I'm gonna turn them back on, and you're probably going to see this when you use this for the first time. I'm going to go to Edit, User Preferences, and on the Calculations tab, there's an Assignment Staffing. I'm going to put this back on Ask Me and Ask Me. That's the default on most all installations of Primavera is Ask Me to select each time. I turn that off, and the reason I turn that off, and I turn it off for the users, I actually log in as them and help them turn that off, is it can get you in trouble really, really quick. And let me explain that. I'm going to go back and select my designers. I've got 2 designers here that are not resource loaded. And now when I hit Assign ABC Designers and hit the plus button, it's going to ask me. So here's what it's asking. It's asking, do you want to use the price per unit? That's the cost. Now remember, we had a cheaper cost or a lower bill rate on the resource than we did the role. The role was a high spot estimate. So I'm going to say, don't ask me this again, and always use the price that I gave you on the resource. The next question is about people or staffing, which in Primavera is units per time. The thing it's asking me here is, do you want to change your people to what's on the resource pool, or do you want to keep what you have on the role? I want to keep what I have. So what I'm going to tell Primavera now is, don't ask me this again, and no, keep it on the roll. So I hit no. So you're going to see I still have 2 people here. There's 3 people as we originally assigned here. So it keeps that based on the selection. I'm going to go back here, edit, user preferences that you selected here. So you can see it changed it for me when I switched those boxes. Critical piece, you want to know that because a lot of people just hit it real quick, yes, and what it does is it keeps the cost, or it changes the cost, and then puts your crew size back to 1 person. And if you're selected on a lot of them, it messed you up pretty good. I'm going to go back down to activity ID, or let me tell you what, let me put it back in order by start. So you can see we're starting to load the schedule, but I do have some that are not loaded. And let's look at the profile. In other words, I'm looking at my staffing plan. Okay, so when you first open this, it's going to look like this. You're going to be display on your display options bar, critical little bar, and it's in every window, but display, select the view by resource. Most people look here, they're looking for the role, they can't find anything. What you want to do is display and select the view by role. If you do this, and then only focus on the roles that are being used, display, filter by just the current roles. So if I select these all together, you're going to see a dark green and a light green. The dark green are the ones that I staffed with ABC or CDE engineering, and the light green means it's unstaffed. If you want to know what's not staffed yet, you can select on each role, and you can see that my purchasing manager has not yet been staffed. So I'm going to use CDE engineering for purchasing. So in order for me to do that, the easy way is I could just come up here in this window, look for them here and select here, or I can go to this window. This window here gives me the ability to fill down. Now, in this particular example, I only have 1 activity for the purchasing manager, but I'm going to add a couple of more and make sure that my purchasing manager's on them just to show you the fill down function. So let me click add here and put a couple of more activities in here. I've added 3 more activities, and all 3 of these activities in this example, for the fill down example, is going to get a role, which is on the far right, person in the green shirt, of purchasing manager. So that's all the purchasing manager. And if I go back to the screen, you'll see the new activities. So here we are on this screen, and the reason I did that, the only reason I did that, is I want to show you the fill down function. So if for the first time you copy a template and you paste the template, you're probably not going to be resource loaded. But if you bring it to the resource assignment screen and you don't want to use the grouping by role on the activity screen, you can come here. So if I know for a fact that all the purchasing is going to CDE, I can click here. I'm going to collapse all, look for my project, and that's probably all you're going to see if you only have access to that from a security perspective. I'm going to go to CDE. I'm going to select the purchasing. I'm going to hold the shift key down, and you can right click and hit fill down, but a lot of times I use the keyboard and I control E, and I fill that down. And just like that, I put the resource on the role. So in review, I'm going to go back to this window, all the way back to the projects. We had a template. The template was role loaded. Logic was tied. We didn't know the resource that was using it, so we utilized the role. We copied the role and the template, and we pasted it. We can adjust durations. We can adjust crew size until we know exactly who the company is that's going to do the work. We built the company at the resource pool, and we linked the resource to the roles. After those are linked, It limited our search when we started assigning, and we knew the companies that were on that project. So now we resource and role loaded. If I back up and I say, we use templates, but we don't role load our templates. Let me show you the downfall to not role loading a template. I have a template here, and it's the exact same steps, but no roles are on it. And let's say that I wanted to resource load this, and I wanted to do it quickly. I would have to go through here and identify who it is, build the resources, and assign that to them because I'm missing the craft. Now, a lot of people say, well, go to the resource assignment and fill it down. If I go to the resource assignment, it's going to be nothing there. It's going to be blank because there's no budgeted hours associated with the activities. This is another reason that we role load on templates. It gives the schedulers the ability to fill down the company or the resources that are going to perform the task. So I will back up and say it's great, it works good, and we do use it. We use it all the time. We use templates, and one of the big things in templates is it gives us the ability to replace things real quick and build schedules very, very fast. So in this example here, I'll replace an activity ID, or an asterisk. So I can Control R and replace the asterisk with a civil and foundation package. So if this is what this was, it was a CVL NFND PKG, and I just replace all. So there's a lot of things that we do with templates, and templates are very powerful, but we highly recommend role loading the templates from a capacity plan. And even if it's not resource loaded, I can run reports and see what disciplines we need over a wide area. One of the downfalls of doing what we just talked about, and we see this more so in turnaround groups, is that when we copy templates and we paste templates, the roles cannot be leveled, and we're trying to level very early or early as we can in a turnaround to get the staffing plan as fast as we can. In this particular case, and in the next video that I'm going to show, is we're going to flip-flop the resource to roles. I will build my craft at the resource and my company at the role. So now when I copy templates, it gives me the ability to level on the craft here, and the company will come in later. So it's just flip-flopping that, and I'll do it in my next video. I want to thank you for watching. We'll have another video out on the roles and the resources, and you can see that one. Thank you very much.